Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Fantastic Four issue 259, cover dated October 1983. The cover is, as always, by John Byrne, pencils and inks by him. The design is a classic of superhero comics, the huge villain looming in the background and holding in his hands the superheroes, but in this case it's not just the superheroes. We have the Thing, Susan Richards aka Invisible Girl, and her brother the Human Torch versus Tyros or Terax. So what has happened in the previous issue is that Dr. Doom has developed a device that restores the power of the Silver Surfer, that is the power cosmic, to Tyros. And now Tyros, he has set him against the Fantastic Four to destroy them. But where is Reed Richards? He does not feature on this cover except in the corner box. And that's because he was abducted at the end of issue 257 to where we do not know. And we must look inside this comic to find out whether there are any clues to his location. One note I want to make before moving on is the colors here are quite eye-catching, and they're a little bit different from the run-of-the-mill cover colors, and that's because the colors on this particular cover are by Glynis Wein. So you can see that when she has access to glossy paper and more sophisticated color technology like the color gradation here in the magenta in the background, that she's capable of producing some pretty cool effects. And of course a classic combination for villains is green and purple, and we have that in connection with Dr. Doom here. So let's open this one up to the splash page. There are 22 pages of story and art in this issue. The title of the story is Choices. And we pick up with Susan Storm, Richards, entering into a house that she is considering purchasing for her family because they've made a decision now that she's pregnant. She became pregnant in the negative zone to move away from the Baxter building, take Franklin with her and Reed, and live, if they can, in the suburbs as civilians, incognito as civilians, and see how that goes, because it's too dangerous living at the Baxter building because all the villains know their location, and that puts Franklin in danger and prospectively the life of their new baby when the baby is born. So she enters the house. Hello, is anyone here? And off panel somebody calls out to her, Mrs. Benjamin, is that you? And so, of course, it's neither Richards nor Storm that she's been addressed by in terms of a surname. And we get an explanation of that in Sue's thoughts here. She's also wearing a wig as well to disguise her identity, because the Fantastic Four are famous not only in the States but worldwide. So she thinks to herself, oops, I almost answered no. I chose Benjamin as an easy name for us all to remember, but it looks as if this secret identity business may be trickier than I thought. And she continues thinking, guess I'm too used to being called Susan Storm Richards. Yes, then she says aloud to the woman, I'm Susan Benjamin. Are you the lady I spoke to on the phone? So this woman here who's showing the house is Martha Winslow. She is not a real estate agent. She's just the neighbor. Sue is impressed with the house. It seems very pleasant. I love the size of the rooms, at least what I've seen. But is the whole house panel like this, she asks. And Mrs. Winslow replies, just the living room and upstairs hall. Oh, and the one wall in the dining room. Don't you like it? And Sue replies, well, it's a bit monotonous. I like variety. Now, this panel is really interesting because this is quotidian stuff. This is real world stuff. And the interest is the juxtaposition of Susan Richards Storm, or Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Girl, in a situation like this, simply picking out a house and maybe thinking about redecorating it. It is a really interesting way to open an issue of the Fantastic Four. I mean, the classic and tried and tested wisdom of the likes of Stan Lee would be like, open on a splash page with some action, open in medias res, in the middle of things, where the hero's in peril, instead of this. So this is John Byrne in the early 1980s, at the height of his powers, and doing inventive and creative things, subverting genre expectations, and it is really, really good stuff. So here's a little scene where And Mrs. Winslow is going to take her upstairs, and she says, by the way, I'm afraid this antique doesn't come with the house. So this is a parrot? It doesn't? Oh, what a pity, says Sue with a cocked eyebrow. Yes, but I'm afraid Faith was quite firm on that. So that is the owner of the house. So you can see there that this parrot looks absolutely depressed. And that is indeed what happens with parrots when their owners are away. They become depressed. So kind of an interesting detail from Byrne there. I wonder, did he have a parrot at this time in his domestic space, living with his wife of the time, Andrea Brown, and her son, Kieran Dwyer? So the doorbell goes. It's another neighbour. This is Katie, and she's got a boy with her, and she's offering babysitting services. So, of course, that would be right up Sue's alley. I hadn't even thought of that. In New York, we've always depended upon Alicia, one of Reed's robot nannies. So she says to Kate, why, yes, Kate, I suppose we will need a sitter once in a while. So it's normal life in Bellport, Connecticut, that is in prospect for the Fantastic Four. Now take a look at this, an advertisement for Alpha Flight. It's already up to issue 3, but we've got a nice full page image here by Byrne, pencils and inks by him, of the team, Canada's hottest new superheroes. Now what is intriguing is the fact that he's doing 2 monthly books, writing, drawing. Those 2 books is putting a little bit of strain on him, and you can see it in respect of some of the pages here where he takes an opportunity, once a space is established, not to fill in backgrounds in every single panel, unlike the beginning of his run on the Fantastic Four. Now this particular page, you can see that he is showing us the exterior of the suburban house in Bellport. It still has the for sale sign. Sue's walking away and she's thinking to herself, well, that's it. All the complex little real estate wheels have been set to turning. In a few days, the family Benjamin will be homeowners. What an experience this has been. It's a long time since I've lived in darkest suburbia, not since before Reed and I got married. I know this adventure into secret identities is absolutely necessary to give our son Franklin something like a normal life, but I hope Reed and I won't get cabin fever so far from the big city. So she's hidden her portion of the Fantastic Car, her segment, in the bushes there. She rises up into the air, turns everything invisible using her powers, and returns to New York City, to Manhattan, to the Baxter Building, and she remembers to take off the wig too. And then the scene switches to a jetliner, specifically a sleek DC-9, winging in over New York's bustling LaGuardia airport. And who's a passenger aboard except for the Thing? But I really like this panel and the nervousness of the passengers, because the Thing was a passenger on the jet. So this woman here says, I never had such a terrifying flight. The man says, me neither. I kept expecting us to get blown out of the sky. And someone else is complaining, this is absolutely outrageous. You've no right to subject your passengers to such dangers. So the staff at the desk, they're wondering, it's Delta. The staff at the desk are wondering, what gives? I thought they had good weather. Check the passenger list. It's the Thing. And the Thing, of course, is susceptible to gloomy moods. And the fact that the passengers aboard the jet took exception to his being on board hasn't improved his mood. He thinks to himself, just great. As if it weren't rough enough for me the past couple of days. I got to wind up with a plane full of folks who treat me like I was Typhoid Mary. Does it have to be that way every time one of the FF uses public transport? Does everybody think one of our enemies is going to attack us any seconds? Oh, nuts, he concludes. I just need to get home and get into a nice hot bath. So interesting stuff here, Byrne thinking out dimensions of what would it be like if the Fantastic Four were in the real world. How would circumstances, or what would the circumstances be for civilians around them in situations like this, particularly given how frequently the Fantastic Four are attacked by their enemies. So this is kind of leaning into what's going on in the early 80s with the likes of Alan Moore in particular, treating superheroes more seriously than they had been before, critiquing the genre conventions, and Byrne responding to that too, I'm pretty certain here, but still keeping it all within the overarching conventions of the superhero genre. So the Thing gets into the cab at the curbside, the Baxter Building pal. He asks the driver and step on it. So the driver's shocked to see it's the Thing. Holy cats, you're the Thing. And the Thing can't resist a dry response. Go to the head of the class, bright boy. Now get rolling, will you? So on they go into the city, and I like the narration here. Thus the cab merges into the steel and rubber snake, slithering slowly towards the Midtown Tunnel. So you're getting kind of real world geography in Byrne's taking the Thing from LaGuardia Airport to the Baxter Building. I like this big anchor image of the Thing sitting in the back of the yellow cab, and he's brooding and thinking to himself, when I think of how glad I was to hear Reed say the F8 ain't gonna break up, even though him and Susie are moving out of the Baxter Building, it don't hardly seem possible I could get turned around so much in just a couple of days. But my faith in human nature's taken a heck of a pounding lately, what with Quicksilver and that kid Lucas. So this is in relation to Goings On story in his own solo title, The Thing, issues 3 and 4. So, of course, in this era of Marvel Comics, the continuity is very tight and maintained by editorial dictates and requirements. And, of course, that's something that readers at the time would have appreciated. And also, it's an incentive, a marketing incentive for readers to go pick up those issues of The Thing as well, to be a completist when it comes to one's favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. And then The Thing continues thinking, makes me wonder if I'm really cut out for the superhero biz. So, more of that depression from The Thing. Not much else a freak like me can do. And then action. So the cab is split in two, and The Thing just manages to move instinctively away from the blast. And he asks, he's baffled, what the blue blazes was that? And then he sees. Now, this should have been on a page turn, but nonetheless, we have a full page image here of Terrax on this glider that was made for him by Dr. Doom. And he's wearing a suit here that helps balance the powers cosmic, because Dr. Doom is using Tyros, what he's called Tyros now. He's using him to attack the Fantastic Four. But the power cosmic is going to burn out Tyros's body, and the suit is slowing down that process. Tyros is unaware of it. And of course, in true Silver Age villain fashion, Tyros declaims, but it is, fool, it is. Though you may have thought me dead by the hand of world-devouring Galactus, I'm risen, more powerful than ever I was before. Now and forevermore I am Tyros the Terrible. So The Thing responds, so, it's back to Tyros, huh? Well, I was never much impressed when you were working for Galactus and calling yourself Terrax either. The way I see a pal, a bozo by any name, still ain't gonna smell like a rose. So The Thing is winding up here surely for a punch, and his trademark call of it's clobbering time. And indeed, he does. He picks up the wreckage of the cab, and he smashes it against Tyros's glider there. That's a really cool panel by Byrne, and great colours as well by Glynis Wein. I neglected to mention the creator credits. So Byrne, of course, story and art, Glynis Wein on colours, and Jim Novak on letters. So great sound effect lettering there as well by Novak. So Tyros is on the ground. Fool, he exclaims. Stupid puny fool. You dare pit your puny strength against the consummate power of Tyros. Mine is the power cosmic, the ultimate power of Galactus himself. So the fight continues here, and The Thing is clever. He rolls up some wreckage again from the cab, and he wraps Tyros up in it. And Tyros, of course, is defiant. Imbecile, you think this frail metal can hold me, save you from my wrath? No longer am I Terrax the Tamer, yet still may I do this. So this is a great sequence here from Byrne, where he takes us down the page on the left-hand side of the page, and then we shoot up here as Tyros uses his power. his native power to move the earth and isolate the thing on the top of this column of earth. I think that's really well done. He sends him way up over the New York traffic, and the thing thinks to himself, blast it. I didn't expect him to be able to do that. And then this is interesting from Byrne, some interesting thoughts from him regarding Galactus and his heralds. But I should have guessed, Galactus gave each of his heralds a power based on one of the four elements, earth, air, fire, or water. He must have picked Tyros for earth, because Mr. T already had some latent earth control, and now he's somehow got his power back, and he's somehow increased it too. So of course, it's often been said that the Fantastic Four themselves, and in John Byrne's very first issue, 232, as writer-artist, played around with the idea that they correlate to the four elements. So interesting here, him thinking about how Galactus's heralds also correlate with the four elements. And of course, that makes sense in relation to his newest herald, Frankie Ray, Nova, who of course is fire, or represents fire. But what does the Silver Surfer represent? The air, would you say? Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comments. So the thing is smashed into the ground by Tyros. Now to free myself, says Tyros, of this crude cocoon and press the attack. The sharp metal edges have shredded much of my garment. Now remember, that's a problem, because that's stopping him, he doesn't know it, from burning out from the paracosmic. Yet I am unharmed and feel somehow stronger. The paracosmic fairly thunders in every fibre of my being. He who resurrected me saved me from the living hell to which I was condemned by Galactus. That saviour must have meant the clothes he gave me to control my power, that I might not turn it against him. But as for now, it is the ultimate destruction of the Fantastic Four, which is my greatest desire. Then shall it be your turn, my saviour, Dr. Doom. So classic villain trope. There's never an uncomplicated villain team up in the Marvel Universe. They will end up turning on each other. They will end up scheming against each other. So Dr. Doom has schemed to put an end to Tyros once he's dealt with the Fantastic Four, and now Tyros is determined to kill Dr. Doom. Great double page spread here by Byrne. Byrne really exploring what's possible with the art at this point in his run. Really great stuff, really fun, as the thing here pushes himself up from the ground and from beneath all of that earth on top of his back, and then he sees where he's landed, at a shopping centre or a strip mall. Now, where did I get dumped? Oh no, right in front of a supermarket. There's civilians all over the place. Got to chase him out of here before. And then he turns and looks over his shoulder. That's a great panel there. Sees a big tidal wave of earth coming towards him with Tyros riding it. And Tyros boasting, the time has come, Ben Grimm. The moment of your annihilation is at hand. The thing says, do your worst. And here he is, smashed right through the supermarket. You can see all of the details here that Byrne has drawn in for the aisles with their various products, and the signage too. It's all really well done. This woman with the curlers in her hair, all really well done. And also Jim Novak providing a sound effect for the borders of the panel as well. Great stuff by Byrne and the whole creative team. Let's continue here. The scene switches to Johnny Storm's Manhattan studio loft, because he's moved out of the Baxter Building too. Now this looks like Byrne was using photo reference here and maybe traced it onto the page, because it looks very, very black and white photograph-like. So he may have done that to speed things up, or to see how it would look on the page. And who's come to pay him a visit except for Sharon Selleck, who is Julie D'Angelo's new roommate, now that Frankie Ray is, and it sounds weird to say it, is Galactus's new herald. So Johnny's just sitting around his apartment. Sharon has taken a fancy to Johnny, and she's put on a pretty pink dress, and she has come to... I guess, well, we'll see what she's there for shortly, but Johnny's just kind of sitting around and burning cockroaches in the apartment, and then she says to him, Using your power to kill roaches? That's a bit like using a nuke to kill mice, ain't it? Johnny replies, just think of it as my lowly contribution to a battle that's been going on for 300 million years. Besides, it's faster, cleaner, and probably a lot less cruel than using poisons. And more fun too. So, a little bit of sadism there in Johnny Storm's character. Anyway, let's push on from that. So he offers her a Coke from the fridge, and then she moves in for a big kiss on the lips. She says, well, to be honest, I can think of much more enjoyable ways to spend an afternoon in June, can't you? So Johnny's taken by surprise, and then he is saved by the appearance of the Fantastic Four's alarm flare, which he can see through the skylight. And that was all established, that he's deliberately picked a studio loft with a skylight that he can use for entrance and exit when he has superhero duties to attend to. So he says to Sharon, please, you're a cute kid, but I'm not. I mean, well, Julie and I, that is. Don't waste your time on Julie, Johnny, says Sharon. She's really pressing her case. I like that. So Johnny here says the FF emergency flare signal, and then he pulls the lever. We never use that flare unless it's Major League Serious, Sharon. I gotta go. So I do like that Byrne is kind of, again, as I said earlier, he's playing around with genre conventions. The old Silver Age convention would have been, Johnny Storm was the assertive dater with lots of women kind of mooning over him, but he would be the, as I said, assertive party. And Byrne, it's the 1980s. Gender roles have developed, and he's including a woman who is assertive herself and who's going to push and make her own case to get paired up with Johnny. But he's got to go. So let's get past the advertisements here. Flame on. I like the lighting there. I like the fact that Julie just curses in her mind at his exit. And Johnny's all business. Again, this looks like a photo that Byrne has used for the background of this particular panel. I'm pretty sure that's a photo of Manhattan and Central Park there. And Johnny thinks as he flies Reed's over at Avengers Mansion. Now, we the readers know that Reed has been abducted, but by whom and to where we don't know yet. And that looks quiet. Sue's house hunting in Connecticut, so it must be the Thing who's signaling, but where did that flare? And then he sees it, and he sees the supermarket, and he sees the devastation of the car park, all those wrecked cars there. There's going to be a lot of insurance claims filed by the owners of those cars, and Johnny's baffled. What in blazes is going on here? Now Sue is arriving to New York in her segment of the Fantastic Car, and then this cumulus cloud comes up behind her, and there emerges from it a ship, and it swallows her up into it, and she's unaware until the last minute, so she's unable to evade the ship. Now, who could this be? Whose ship is that? Well, it turns out to be Doctor Doom. And Sue recognizes that it has to be him, and he arrives and says, excellent, Susan, you're as intelligent as you're beautiful. Because, of course, it's interesting, Byrne kind of brings out the fact that Doom's envious of Reed in terms of Reed's intelligence, and he's also envious, it is implied, of Reed's look in love as well, and his wife, and that Doom has a secret fancy for Sue Storm. It will trouble me a little to annihilate you along with the rest of the Fantastic Four, but Sue is defiant. Spare me your hypocrisy, Doom. The inhibitor ray you once used against us is long since worn off. That was the last time that the FF encountered Doctor Doom in issues 246 and 247. There's nothing now to prevent me from using my force field to crack open your armor and squash you, if it really is you and not one of your robot doubles. So Doom is impressed, but he's also kind of like dryly humorous. Such a greeting? Is that how you address your betters, woman? I had thought you a lady, but if you insist on speaking like a kitchen wench, I'll treat you as one. And then he slaps her in the face with his gauntleted hand. So that's going to hurt. Notice there are no backgrounds here. So again, as I've said before, this is Byrne saving somewhat on time. having to draw Alpha Flight as well as this. I felt that, she thinks. Doom must be using some kind of concussive weapon that counters my force field. For the sake of the baby, I must finish this fight before he can knock me about too much. You know what? If Doom knew that she was pregnant, there is no way he would have slapped her. I'm pretty certain of that. Pretty sure of that. But anyway, he doesn't, and we'll see, is this Doom at all? Yet, with his strange code of honor, I'm shocked that he would strike a woman. Kill one, yes, but I thought him above simple brutality. So Sue strikes at him with her force field. And, of course, it wasn't the real Dr. Doom. It was a robot double. I knew it. Another of Doom's wretched robots, she thinks, and not a particularly good one either. My force field ram took its head right off. So here the real Doom appears in this kind of holographic sphere. And he says to Susan, "Forgive me for not personally welcoming you, Susan. There were more pressing matters to concern me." And she replies, "Really, Von Doom? You used your robots against us the last time we battled? I'm inclined to think you've simply become afraid to face any of the Fantastic Four yourself." And he says to her, "You know me better than that, woman. I simply find it undignified for a monarch to engage in such menial physicality. My true power lies in the strength of my intellect and how I use it to guide others." So, of course, he's kind of referring indirectly there concerning what he's done with Tyros. And Sue is listening. "A pretty speech, Doom, but lacking conviction. You still won't confront me yourself. Do I have to come after you? Do I have to take this whole ship apart to find you?" And now the real Doom is impressed. "Wonderful, wonderful," he exclaims. "Such fire, such unguessed strength. I applaud you, Susan Richards. You've become a true warrior in your own right. You could indeed smash your way through this vessel. You could certainly find your way to me. For the first time, I'm even compelled to consider that you, whom I once thought weakest of the four, might actually survive a battle with Victor Von Doom. But before we test that hypothesis, look behind you." So, what kind of game is he playing? She looks behind and she sees out the side of the ship the wrecked supermarket. She sees Johnny and the Thing battling Tyros, and she squints through billowing black smoke. An icy claw snatches at her heart. Tyros, Tyros, but he's dead. So I like this top-down angle here on Sue looking out the side of the ship. And Dr. Doom says to her, regarding Tyros, "No, Susan, he's resurrected, and at my hand the power cosmic is his once more, the same power I once stole from the Silver Surfer. And this time nothing will prevent Tyros, my unwitting slave, from destroying the Fantastic Four." Like this panel of Tyros directing the earth and rubble to hit Johnny square in the gut. It's really well done by Byrne. Let's turn the page. You see we've got the bullpen bulletins here, and kind of advertising Avengers 236, Cloak and Dagger #1, Rick Leonardi and Terry Austin on art there, and New Mutants, it looks like it's 6 or 8 it's up to. Let's turn the page, last couple of pages now. So Doom says to Susan, "And so I confront you. It is the true Victor Von Doom you see here now. The choice then is yours. Engage me now in a battle you might survive, leaving your loved ones to a battle they cannot possibly survive, or go to their aid, remembering always that to do so is to flee Doom, to acknowledge him your master." So it's a tough choice he's given her, but he set it up in such a way that she has to go aid her brother and her friend. In the last analysis, no choice at all. So Doom gets to boast that she fled him, and by doing so acknowledges him as her master. "Curse you, Doom," she says as she leaps out to aid the other two. And then the last page here, we have a view of space, the Silver Surfer, and he is sitting and contemplating on an asteroid. And then he sees a beam here. What's this? A matter transferal beam, similar to those used by many worlds for interstellar transportation. It struck somewhere within the human city called New York. I might well affect the fleeting lives it might well affect the fleeting lives of those mortals I name my friends. Be that as it may, it is of certain interest to the Silver Surfer. So this matter transferal interstellar transporter beam, does it have something to do with Reed Richards' disappearance a couple of issues ago? Well, next issue, Doctor Doom, Tyros the Terrible, the Silver Surfer, a story we could only call When Titans Clash. There you go. There's no letters page in this particular issue. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on John Byrne's Fantastic Four issue 259. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.